is CLNS Radio, the home of Internet Sports Talk Radio.
Good evening, Celtics fans. This is Nick Gelso from the Celtics Late Night Show. We would like to observe a moment of silence for the victims and those that were affected by the horrific terrorist attacks in the Boston area today at the Marathon. Moment of silence.
You're listening to the Celtics Late Night Show, live at www.celticslatenightshow.com. Now, the hosts of tonight's show, Nick Gelso and B. Paul.
Hello, Celtics!
Welcome to the Celtics Late Night Show, everybody. As you can tell, we're a bit rattled here. KYRIE is joining me in place of Brandon Paul tonight. You could tell I'm a bit rattled as well by the effects of this horrible, horrible day in the Boston area. What should be a celebratory affair with the Boston Marathon, Patriots Day in Boston has been, so horribly foiled by the selfish and god-awful terrorist attacks in the Boston area. We have had scheduled for about 2 months Sean Grande to come on this show tonight. And now I am pleased to introduce our guest for the evening. It is play-by-play man, the voice of the Boston Celtics, Sean Grande. Sean, we are glad you are safe. You are one of the first messages I sent out to check up on people, and thrilled that you're okay in such a difficult day today in the Boston area. So glad you're safe. Let's talk some hoops, man.
Absolutely. It was a crazy, it's a welcome distraction now after the last few hours. And just so you know how committed I am to your show, keeping this, we've had this set up for months, and I wasn't. You know how committed you are. I walk into the press room at TD Garden for one of the worst games of the season, and there you are sitting holding court. I walk up to you, shake your hand, and introduce myself, and you say April 15th. You had the date better than I did, Sean. I've messed it up so many times. Yeah, but the question is, what do I not have in my head that I should? Because I remembered that.
I don't know, man, but I was pretty impressed. I got to tell you, the guy on the other side of the mic with me, KYRIE, he's been in television and radio for years, and we could both agree that we've covered locker rooms. We've seen the players, everything else. They don't make us awestruck. It's Mike Gorman, Tommy Heinsohn, Grande, and Max that makes my knees shake when I see them. You see how nervous I was there to introduce myself to you Friday?
I did kind of notice that, but I assumed that was for Tommy, and I just got the collateral.
Yeah, well, Max was behind you. It was actually Max. Funny story about Max. A couple of years ago, I had met him a bunch of times, and every time I'm at the Garden, I say, Max, what's going on? He gives me kind of the cool head nod, So at the opening night, I said, I'm going to get this guy's attention no matter what. So I said, hey, Max, what's going on? He gave me the head nod. I said, hey, MVP. He turned right around, came over, and shook my hand. All I had to do was call him MVP. It worked. So welcome to the show. Let's talk hoops. We got Celtics and Knicks coming up in the playoffs. How do you think the seeds are going to match up?
I think it's going to be pretty interesting, and I think the beauty of it is we don't really know, because if you look at the games this year, a lot of them, even the Celtics didn't have Rondo for that game in New York. That was the whole, that we remembered for the, as the Cereal Bowl after the fact. But it was a game they didn't have Rondo. There was, no Garnett in the last game, and it's become increasingly dangerous to try to gauge the postseason by what we're seeing over the final 4 to 6 weeks of the regular season, between injuries and teams really jockeying for position and resting guys. And I think that the Knicks are legit what they've done in the regular season. I don't like them in the long run as a playoff team because they don't defend particularly well. They rely on the three-point shot. They're not a great rebounding team, and those aren't the teams that tend to go very far. So I think this is the matchup that is most favorable for the Celtics of the 4 they could have gotten on the road. That said, it's very difficult as a 7th seed, to win on the road, to win a best-of-7 series. And the reality is we've seen the Celtics lineup we're going to see. Doc Rivers had basically 2 dress rehearsals to have this lineup, and it's not ideal. When you talk about the championship season, Doc Rivers had about 70 looks at the team he was going to have in the playoffs, and this year he had 2. So, Jeff Green is he's the big wild card. He's the new Rondo as far as what gives you a puncher's chance. Because if he can, play Carmelo Anthony tough, the Celtics are going to make this a good series. And there's a lot of pressure. Keep this in mind for the first time in forever. Pressure's on the other guys now. This pressure is on New York squarely.
Sean, TyRae, what a pleasure it is to talk to you for the first time. And I was likening this team to the team in 2010 that finished 27-27 over the final 54 games. But unlike that year where they had a true superstar who played like a superstar in Rondo during those playoffs, he played out of his head. Do the C's really have a player, do you think, that can turn it up to that kind of level so they can compete for an NBA title this year?
Well, I don't see them competing for don't shoot the messenger. I don't see them competing for an NBA title this year. I think this is about, can they win one more? We've become accustomed to so many unexpected moments these last couple of years and longer playoff runs than we thought we would see. And does this group, this sort of makeshift group that's been cobbled together with all the injuries, can Doc Rivers pull one more rabbit out of the hat and win another series he's not supposed to, and win a series without home court advantage, which is what we saw in 2010. But the difference in this team had a very similar finish to 2010, but the 2010 team played at championship level at the start of the year. That team was 23-5, had a long winning streak, and you knew that it was in them. We don't know yet that is in them, other than the idea that Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett have been there before. But clearly, what we've seen enough of Jeff Green in the second half of the season to know that he can be that wild card guy, and he's done it on a couple of nights. And the matchup with Carmelo Anthony, it gives you that one guy that can neutralize their best guy, and that's the difference.
How impressed are you by the play of Carmelo